Hey everybody, Josh Nickerson of World Alternative Media here. And yes, indeed, they are building FEMA camps across the United States and elsewhere. Of course, this is something we've been warning about for a while as they force the world into a system of rationing and digital IDs. Massive new FEMA camp pops up overnight in Candler, North Carolina. And Ann Vandersteel was exposing the truth there on the ground. This is happening as we see the calls for food rationing, World War II style rationing of meat and fuel to slash carbon emissions, which apparently 40% of the public supports. As we see MPs demand transparency from the World Bank as 31 billion pounds of green funds go missing because this is going into a new system of enslavement that they're not informing the public about as they prepare for this digital ration system that's going on across the board. And all the while, there are a bunch of E. coli outbreaks happening, which, again, they're recalling meat across the board as they aim to ban meat, as they aim to push people on the lab-grown meat system, which, of course, is a desperate system right now, but will have no problem under a digital ID ration system. So, my friends, we're going to go into this and more today as we see the push for the complete enslavement and bondage of humanity. But before we do, I urge people to check those links below for real solutions, including heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, and books on how to get started. Use code WAM, WAM, and you get 5% off as well as free shipping in the United States on these items. I think this is extraordinarily important. This is life-saving stuff. This ensures that you aren't dependent on their system in famine, begging for food from people like Bill Gates to then give you like modified RNA food that will poison and kill you. You must not be dependent on them. Break free, get months of food in advance. Make sure that you are prepared for this before it's too late. And they now have self-heating meal kits available as well, where you just add water. So that could be a game changer in off-grid scenario. Also, make sure to check out whambeef.com for 10 plus year shelf life freeze-dried steak. This is not beef crumbles. These are real steaks. And again, 12 servings per bag. If you use code WAMBEEF, WAMBEEF, all one word, it's 25% off on your order, much more off than it appears on the screen. So this, I think, is obviously life-saving in the face of them trying to ban meat and trying to poison whatever remains. Guaranteed no lab-grown meat and no mRNA jabs, all American beef that's 100% natural, all over at whambeef.com. So get on this today and prepare today while you still can. So you're on the outside looking in, not on the inside trapped and looking out. Anyway, let's get into this. So massive new FEMA camp pops up overnight in Candler, North Carolina. Ann Vandersteel exposes the truth, it says out of Natural News. Locals in Candler, North Carolina are reporting that a suspicious Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA camp has been set up urgently in the area. They raised concerns about it, about how it just popped up when the agency's personnel have not been extending them assistance and appeared to have already left them while recovering from the disastrous aftermath of hurricanes Helene and Milton. Zelensko Freedom Foundation's Ann Vandersteel went to the area to check the massive installation camp that popped up in just a matter of days. She decided to check on the property because they had seen drone footage, but their team was surveilled by the personnel of the camp. Josh Worth, a FEMA spokesperson, came after a few minutes to address Vandersteel's inquiries. First, he clarified that FEMA is building the installation for their responders as well as other federal and volunteer agencies that need lodging to help survivors in the local area. This is, of course, what they're going to claim because, again, they just happen to be ready with the blueprints and everything ready to go as the hurricane hit while people were starving, while electricity was still out. But, hey, they can go and do this while destroying supplies that were being delivered to the area. Like we saw a black helicopter destroying a bunch of aid. I mean, this is sick. It says, and I quote, "We are building these to stay out of the local hotels so that the disaster survivors can stay at the local hotels," he explained to Vandersteel, who immediately followed up with, "Is money being provided to survivors to pay local hotels?" Josh Worth confirmed that, yes, victims are allocated money for accommodation, but he could not give further information, as this is not his area, he says, and his area is the back end support for the operation. So, of course, this is order out of chaos. Every time you have an emergency, which again, this was obvious weather modification, we saw it from the beginning. They're going after lithium. They're going to create 15-minute cities. This is the idea here. They are setting up FEMA camps, and we've seen a lot of these examples going back decades. I've been talking about this. I mean, I remember talking about this in 2006. And, you know, you see these FEMA camps and they have the barbed wire pointing in so people can't escape. What's the deal with that? I mean, I think even if this specific example of these FEMA camps that are being putting up recently are just out of emergency directorates, it's part of the normalization factor of what we're seeing as we move into this ration-based system, which of course will be based on digital IDs, which will determine if people can get food or water based on their behavior on social credit or carbon credits. Excuse me. This is clearly what's going on here. And it's correlating with all these things that are happening simultaneously. And I don't think it is a coincidence. Natural News also reports that local police in Appalachia say don't donate to FEMA. They are hindering what a lot of people are trying to accomplish. Yes, they're trying to create a vast amount of dependence. And we've seen that going back to Hurricane Katrina, but of course, Hurricane Harvey as well. We interviewed people who were involved, including my friend Danny, who was trying to bring food to people on the ground. And FEMA was stopping them because they be in long lineups waiting for a toothbrush, then another long lineup for hours to get a piece of bread. And that makes them more desperate, and that makes them more easily controlled. They are normalizing and modeling people based on a control system of technocracy while destroying property. So you will own nothing, and you will be happy and enslaved, placated on video games, again, placated on drugs, playing video games, as Yuval Noah Harari says, as well as the push by Klaus Schwab, who says the role model for the Great Reset is China. So total inhumanity and technocracy. This is obvious. This is so obvious. Meanwhile, Britons are urged to eat less meat to hit latest net zero target. Of course, people should change their diets to help cut 200 million tons of emissions, says climate watchdog. Complete fucking nonsense. Britain must cut its meat and dairy consumption by up to 50% to meet the latest net zero targets by the government, climate watchdog has said. Now, we reported a little while back, probably a while now, before they manufactured the strikes, followed by what happened with the panic buying, followed by Hurricane Helene, followed by Hurricane Milton. It was also obviously coordinated right after the United Nations passed the United Nations Pact for the Future, which was passed by 193 countries to force people into carbon credits based on, what people say online. Their banks can be restricted. And it also is after we did a video a while back ago, and let me see, called, there's supply chain shutdown imminent, which I talked about, but also the idea of getting rid of all meat and all travel by 2029 by law. This is meat and travel ban by 2029. We did this video over a month ago. And then that was followed by the UN Pact for the Future, which is literally pushing for this to be law in 193 countries to completely restrict people's ability to access food unless they are complacent. And that food will be, of course, poisoned. And then soon after, we see this Hurricane Helene thing, the dock worker strike, and FEMA collapsing. It is not a coincidence, my friends. In no way is this a coincidence. And all these things are happening simultaneously. So they want a complete plant-based system by 2050. They want a ban on all airports. We're already seeing that in France with a ban on domestic flights and short-haul domestic flights. We see the attack on farmers. They want to cut 50% of farms in the Netherlands, which is the second top agricultural exporter in the world. They're trying the same thing in Ireland. They're trying the same thing in Bulgaria. They're trying the same, or not Bulgaria, Belgium rather. Sorry, they're trying the same thing in the Netherlands. They're trying the same thing in Paris, in France, where they're trying to ban also cars from the center of the city that are private, as well as Spain and many other places. But of course, they're doing it in the United States and Canada big time as well, with QR codes and the push for government-run grocery stores in places like Chicago, restriction on what people can or cannot eat in places like New York as they build a surveillance mechanism for 15-minute cities. And again, I went to 15-minute cities in Oxford, UK back in 2023. And I reported on the ground. We have a documentary that we're trying to make, but we've been bankrupted at every turn on it. We have a gogetfunding.com campaign below if you want to help support us with that. It's a nightmare, but we've seen it ourselves. Sensors in the streets, traffic like crazy. Oh, we're trying to stop emissions, so therefore we'll make everyone have to idle in traffic and spend 5 times the amount of time getting home, trying to get around all these restricted, closed off streets. Oh, but it's okay. Eventually, you'll get electric cars that will self-drive you to a gulag and have bulletproof windows that you can't shoot your way out of, so you can't even escape your fate as they bring you off instead of train cars off to the gulag in your nice little fancy electric car. Convenient. Security comes under the guise of convenience. As Daily Mail reported, and I've talked about recently, is this the key to tackling climate change? Almost 40% of the public would agree to World War II style rationing of meat and fuel to slash carbon emissions. Survey reveals of 9,000 people surveyed, almost 40% support fuel or meat rationing. And now Germany already says that they want to ration food and ration fuel in the face of World War III, which they are insistent they will ensure happens. Whether it's through Israel and Iran, an ally of Russia and China, or the left wants to just go after Russia, and no matter what, it leads to the same place, both sides. And they say in the United States that they want to ration food and conscript people into the military with a draft. They say they want to give everyone mRNA rations in the military, and of course, they want to do conscription in the UK as well, which Boris Johnson praised and wore a military helmet, saying, I would go if I was told. These people are psychopathic mass murderers who want you dead or enslaved to the point where there's no inkling of humanity left in you. This is where they're heading. And so, yeah, when we see the public so stupid enough to actually support at a 40% rate out of 9,000 people, which, by the way, was in Sweden, India, Brazil, Germany, and the US, they want rationing of meat and fuel. The public has been properly brainwashed. There's a lot more people waking up than ever, but still enough people to endanger civilization, because all they really need is 5% of people to support this, because at the end of the day, they will just take away your grocery stores, take away your bank accounts, take away your ability to access these things. And since everyone is dependent and weak in modern day culture and Western civilization, which is easily collapsing, then even if you're awake, you'll be like, well, I need food, so I guess I'll get a jab and get this carbon credit, social credit score system in place for myself because I need to eat. This is where they're putting us all, my friends. This is why they're corralling us. This is why I tell you to get prepared with the storable foods and everything. But the expose writes, the government's given you a ration book for electricity. You just don't know it. We're about to say welcome to winter 2024, a season that makes the Blitz look like a summer picnic when it comes to electricity. With freezing temperatures outside and eye-watering bills inside, it feels like rationing is back, only this time there's no government printed book with neat little coupons. Instead, we have a new kind of rationing courtesy of the invisible hand of the energy market. You can forget those comforting symbols of sacrifice for the greater good. No community spirit or wartime camaraderie here, just flashing screens, digital nudges, and a sickening feeling every time you glance at your smart meter. The buzzword this winter is voluntary load shedding, a phrase that sounds like the name of a dreary indie band, but means one thing. If you want to keep the lights on, you better be prepared to turn them off yourself. See, they've already said, and they've pushed this in past years, but now they're really going after it, saying that you could be restricted from heating your home in the winter, restricted from cooling it in the summer, restricted from keeping a light on. And if you have your lights, look, the UK government already said that they will give you, and I reported this 2 years ago, they will give you credits on a CBDC, on the new rollout of their CBDC, central bank digital currency, if you turn off your AC in the summer, heating in the winter, if you turn off your lights for a certain amount of day, and then you have to be attached to a smart meter, which will tell the government what that is. And I've been saying for fucking 18 years, they're going to come out with smart meters that are attached to your electricity, your water intake, everything. They'll tell the government how much you use on a daily basis. And based on that, it'll determine your rations, including food and energy. And then, I was saying that big time in 2020 and 2021, saying that the COVID stuff was a litmus for the climate lockdowns eventually. I said that in January of 2020, before there was even lockdowns. And then in 2022, the World Economic Forum acknowledged that COVID was a litmus test for compliance to bring in 15-minute cities and climate lockdowns, exactly as I said. And then I said, I talked about these smart meters. Then the UK government in late 2022 acknowledged that they were going to bring in smart meters attached to homes attached to CBDCs with credits given to you based on what you do, how much electricity you use, and the lack thereof, rather. All the things that I said would happen. I'm not bragging. They say they're going to do it. So I just say, look, they are themselves saying they're going to do this. Then I talk about it. People call me crazy. Then it goes mainstream. And then they say, oh, you're crazy for not going along with it. Really? Well, look at all these things happening simultaneously. It is not a coincidence. These crises don't happen simultaneously as a coincidence, with the dock worker strike, which is still affecting markets, even though it's a few days. As I said, into 2025, there'll be restrictions. And then the push for World War III, the push for civil war to bring in emergency orders, all of these things happen simultaneously. And then, of course, there's a lot more to it, which I'll get into in a moment, with the poisoning of the food supply, etc. Net zero. MPs demand transparency from World Bank as up to 31 billion pounds of green funds go missing. This is from gbnews.com. Now, it's pretty obvious that this is a major part of the hoax. They're hiding this money. They're putting it into things. They just can't tell you what they're putting it into. But it's part of that technocratic push for a new world order. A bombshell report that has indicated that the World Bank's management of green funds is in disarray, with up to 31 billion pounds from donor countries such as Britain said to be missing. It says the sum represents almost 40% of all climate change funds handed out by World Bank over the last 7 years. A lot of it's money laundering, but a lot of it's heading into systems that they're not allowed to talk about, as the World Bank was just recently part of the United Nations Pact for the Future decision with 193 countries to bring in carbon credits. So interesting how this works. Again, some of these things I'm thinking of as I'm talking here. That's a huge thing. I almost forgot to mention. So yeah, the World Bank is involved directly with the United Nations Pact for the Future to bring in carbon credits and restrict people from accessing their bank accounts if they say things that are against the government narrative. So, 40% of all the climate change funds. Meanwhile, the banks are in a free fall collapse and they're being collateralized. I mean, this is a major push towards what they eventually will also use with the bail-in regimes that we recently reported on with Mark Gonzalez, which I beg you to watch. Banks to steal your money. It's up on our channel on Rumble and BitChute, World Alternative Media. Highly recommend you go check that out. You guys have to see it because it's insane what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, there's now an audit by Oxfam, and Oxfam is heavily involved in this climate stuff. I mean, come on. This is just them acknowledging they're hiding money from you to bring in the new system of climate restrictions and control through carbon and social credit. Like I said, Klaus Schwab says that China is a role model for the Great Reset. China was propped up for years as a guinea pig state for technocracy, with the Zbigniew Brzezinski and the Trilateral Commission, as well as, of course, Henry Kissinger meeting with Mao and creating this alliance. The Rockefellers, everyone. And again, they brought in social credit first, the CBDCs first. They're now working with India, which is one of the first countries to try to ban the use of physical gold, even though it's part of their culture. And meanwhile, they did zero COVID policies, which are quite literally the basis for 15-minute cities. It's all coming together, isn't it? It's all coming together again. The expose: Florida bans sale of lab-grown meat. So we see these pushes in the opposite direction. Guess what? Under emergency orders with the UN Pact for the Future and all these other restrictions, they have given themselves a right to override all this and force this on people. Federal judge upholds Florida ban on lab-grown meat as other states propose similar bans. The ban will remain in place while the lawsuit challenging its legality moves through the courts. Upside Foods, which makes a cultivated chicken product, sued to overturn the ban, which was signed into law on May 1st. Meanwhile, of course, Israel is one of the major ones trying to bring in lab-grown meat and 3D printed meat to the market. Bill Gates is a major player in that. Desperate lab-grown meat industry claims it needs government subsidies to survive. But here's the thing. They'll get that. All they need is a right crisis, and they always create the crisis and then come in as a solution. That is exactly what they're doing. So when people say, oh, it's good, the lab grown meat industry, the 3D printed meat industry, the mRNA meat industry is going to collapse because people don't want it. It doesn't matter if people fucking want it. People don't want the COVID shots. Most people got them because they were afraid that they wouldn't be allowed to go outside. They were fooled, but nonetheless, that's what they did. It took the government forcing and mandating things for people to go along and do certain things. And so they'll do the same thing with the lab grown meat. No demand for it. Too bad. All the military are getting it. Oh, by the way, you're being conscripted. Enjoy dying for a bunch of psychopathic mass murdering freaks in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe, etc. This is what people need to understand. People will be against lab-grown meat and mRNA meat and 3D printed meat, even though they're already finding it on the market. They're already finding fake chickens, as we reported. They are already finding traces of modified RNA, which survives the digestive system in the food. That's slow killing people, not to mention all the chemicals, forever chemicals, seed oils, etc., that are there. But on top of that, they are going to force ration the food when they destroy the food supply, force you to eat this stuff. So even if it looks good, oh yeah, the lab-grown meat industry is collapsing. No one wants it. The Beyond Meat and all that kind of stuff, and the Impossible Burgers, it's collapsing. No, it ain't. They will make sure to it. They'll see to it. Just like you're stuck with the dollar, despite the amount of inflation going up. What other currencies are you going to use? You could use privacy coins. You could use gold and silver, but most people won't do that. So here we are. Out of desperation, people use the dollar. It's how they get us through the grocery system. We're dependent on it. Get rid of it. People are dependent and desperate and begging for food, or else they starve. And so they get poisoned with the ration food. It's like we see in these like Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene crises that are manufactured. You'll see the same thing with, health restrictions regarding pandemic hoaxes. You'll see the same thing with the banking system collapsing. Oh, but all my money's in the bank. Okay, well, if you want any of it, we'll loan it to you. And that's what really banks do. Your money is, when you put your money in the bank, it's not yours, it's a bank's. If it's through digital transactions, it's never your money, you never hold it, it's gone. It's theirs. They will decide what to give to you. And most of it is not actually insured by the FDIC, despite what they claim. So there's no insurance on it. So basically your money's gone, and it's gone, as they say, with bank bail-ins, especially on the near horizon, with this recent push by the United Nations and 63 countries, by the way, to bring in Basel III and just bail in and take your money out of your account. We have our link for Mark Gonzalez to buy gold below in the description, by the way. I urge people to take that seriously and watch our videos on this. Nonetheless, we have all of these things happening simultaneously. They will come in and replace the system that they created and made bad and destroyed with a new system. It's problem, reaction, solution, repeat, the Hegelian dialectic. And so despite the lab-grown meat industry collapsing, look, we also have the bird flu thing, a windfall for largest industrial chicken producers. The USDA provided over $889 million in financial assistance to poultry farmers affected by bird flu infections between January 2023 and September. Over half of all payments went to just 10 of the largest industrial poultry corporations. They're killing off these animals without having any evidence that these animals are sick. They're using PCR tests, polymerase chain reaction tests, complete fucking nonsense. They are then destroying the food supply, causing the price to go up on top of inflation already, and then injecting the rest so that you end up eating vaccines. They say they're doing this, and then they're giving it to soldiers as a ration. I mean, people have no idea how bad it's really getting. And this bird flu thing is a major way to kill multiple birds with one stone, no pun intended, in order to destroy the food supply alongside the World War III situation. And now they're poisoning it. And now they're causing a greater shortages and cracking down big time as McDonald's E. coli outbreak grows to more states as 2 people fight for their lives and 75 fall sick after eating quarter pounders. And within a few hours of that, another article comes out. McDonald's E. coli recall spreads to Burger King, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell as national chains are urged to pull key ingredients now, which basically just means chicken. Yum Brands, which owns Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC restaurants, and many others. Bad enough that McDonald's food is already deadly in the first place. Daily Mail reports Costco hit with major listeria outbreak as stores recall popular items. So this is all happening at the same time, really? E. coli outbreak, listeria outbreak, bird flu, all this bullshit. These new illnesses that they're coming up with on the daily. Monkeypox, which is just a vaccine injury from the COVID shots, which is shingles. What about Marburg virus? What about EEV virus and West Nile and dengue and all these other things that they're coming up with at the same time? Oh, and maybe there's another strain of COVID, which is a complete hoax. They're doing this to perpetuate the crisis, to force the world, and there's no breaks given here, to force the world into this system of compliance and ration. As California keeps driving up gas prices with layers and layers of green rules and regulations to destroy the grid, and tells people that they'll have to stop eating meat by 2025 and ban gas powered cars by 2025. It's almost 2025 now, and Gavin Newsom said that just a year and a half ago. I don't see how that's going to go. And then right after, they said, well, wait a second. Also, don't charge your electric vehicles because the grid can't handle it. Yeah, great. Bill Gates doubles down on global ID push as a global digital ID push as critics sound alarm on privacy risks. He's already pushed it with the United Nations. In Sierra Leone, by the way, which was a test site among many African countries, but Sierra Leone, you already need a digital ID to get a job, drive a car, have a bank account, do anything. So they've tested it big time. They're pushing it with the EU, United Nations, and World Economic Forum to bring in that digital public infrastructure, the Internet of Things, if you will. And it's happening real fast. They're pushing it in India, Kenya, Brazil, and Togo, where they've trialed it. They have it coming out in the UK with a nudge unit that they're using, where Professor Suzanne Michie was involved in pushing the COVID propaganda hoax. She's heavily involved in bringing carbon credits to your bank account and forcing people into digital IDs, which again, I've done many videos on. Many people didn't watch it. It's unfortunate, but I did a very important video a while back ago that went mostly unseen, called Digital ID and Transhumanism Exposed. Countries approve digital ID, Cyborg Soldier 2050. I urge people to check it out if you haven't already, because, people think, oh, that's a boring video. No, it's extraordinarily important, and it pertains to things, how they're being developed right now and how they're bringing the walls in on that digital infrastructure on you. And then you end up eating that fake meat that they say is doing badly as an investment. Oh, great. It doesn't matter. It's propped up and pushed on people in the first place. So there's major issues there. EU's digital ID push sparks fears over privacy and rushed rollout. So it's going across the board everywhere in the world at the same time. It's like people said, where's your evidence of there being a world government? Everyone's at war. It's all fake. Everything you see is fake. Iran was propped up by the US in the first place. Same with Israel. Israel created Hamas. I mean, it's just everything's fake, my friends. And then you also see all these governments working together with the COVID stuff, saying the exact same thing in lockstep at the same time. And those that didn't, the leaders died mysteriously. And they're doing the same thing with CBDCs. They're doing the same thing with digital IDs. Excuse me. They're doing the same thing with war, doing the same thing with civil war. They're doing the same thing with food shortages and grid. The grid's going down. I mean, isn't it fucking obvious right now? We're seeing a shift, a massive power shift from the west to the east, and they're utilizing technocracy as a new world order to replace the old world order, which we'll say is violent and terrible, with war. Yes, but this is even worse, actually. I mean, they're all terrible. I wouldn't support any of them, but they're using the era of all-out warfare from the 40s to now, this world order, and it'll collapse in a state of war and then come in with a convenient piece of a technocracy and the Internet of Things and digital IDs and all this stuff, which again, tyranny comes under the guise of convenience, which will then enslave humanity to poisonous rations and destroy any potential for humanity and bring us back thousands of years, yet with digital infrastructure where everyone is enslaved to the machine. That is the goal. And they're doing very well at this. So people will say, well, it's good. There's not, war going on around the world. Yeah, because the war is on you in your mind now, and they're destroying the very essence of humanity from within, the destruction of consciousness across the board. This is happening as the Department of Defense directive authorizes U.S. military to use lethal force against Americans on U.S. soil if they dare to protest, which Dr. Ron Paul, who we've had on the show many, many times, and Daniel McAdams, who's a great guy, are quoted as saying this is extremely, very, very dangerous. And it's the relevant section is of the DoD Directive 5240.01, Section 3. That document spelled out the authorization to utilize lethal force in certain circumstances. So basically what they're doing is they're going to bring in digital martial law. That's what it is. It's digital martial law. And everyone's going to depend on it. People will be like, oh, well, we'll fight back. Yeah, well, you don't have food, or you can't access any of your money, or you can't live in your house anymore because you don't have that digital ID. I think damn well you will comply and bow on your knees, unless, of course, you're prepared. Unless you're prepared, which is something that I've been trying to get people to understand for a very long time. And I know a lot of you have, and a lot of you are prepared, probably more than me even. But most people, the majority of people, are wait and see what happens people. And they waited and saw what happened with the COVID restrictions and the vaccine rollout and the mass death. And now they're waiting to see what happens with this global technocracy, with World War World War III, Civil War, weather modification, climate restrictions, and destruction of farms. Bill Gates owning up all the farmland and not using it, destroy this, the food system, the food supply. Of course, the demoralization of the populace, the weakening of the populace, shift from the economic system of the West to the East, the destruction of the food supply, the destruction of the housing supply, the destruction of the grid, the trans kids agenda, the transhumanism, the pandemic hoaxes, all these things, the cultural warfare across the board that's all manufactured, the digital IDs and rollouts as a convenient solution to these problems that enslaves us more. All these things are happening. This wait and see what happens thing is one of the most destructive things that you could ever see, because the end goal is the destruction of humanity, the war on humanity. If there's a war on humanity, as I've said many times before, the solution is to be more human, be more empathetic, be more conscious, be more self-responsible and individualistic, which is the basis of freedom and humanity in the first place, which is synonymous. As I've said, all roads may lead to Rome. So build your own damn road that's a little bumpy and inconvenient and slower. It's not concrete. It's not, it's not asphalt. It's bumpy gravel. But hell, it gets you to a more free, beautiful new civilization than all these roads that are leading to the Tower of Babel that they're building for a transhumanist nanotech hive mind of enslavement, which they're building. Oh, call me crazy. Well, they say they're doing it. They're developing it. It's moving fast. All these crises all lead to them using it as a solution, quote unquote, in order to bring in this technocracy. How much more do people need at this point? I mean, again, let's say things in the last 5 years before completely just being devastated and destroyed. I'd like to see that happen, but it's more likely to happen in the very short term. And needless to say, if it happened in 5 years, which is beyond my belief, because I mean, come on, it's obviously happening sooner. We're seeing it now. The election's just around the corner. If you get these storable foods now that are 20 to 25 year shelf life, no matter what you'll be using them, no matter what you'll be saved, and the sooner you get it, the more money you're saving over the inflation issue. Not to mention that you won't be able to access good organic food. This way you have, heirloom seeds. So instead of, giving a man a fish and him eating tonight, you teach a man to fish, he feeds himself and his family for a lifetime. You have those heirloom seeds. You have the storable food. So while you're waiting for the Tower Garden to bring you the harvest of these heirloom seeds, or whatever it might be, maybe your backyard garden, whatever it is, then you have the storable foods at the same time. It's just so obvious. And then they're trying to ban meat. So again, we have, the freeze-dried meats, but it's just, you have to actually go out and do this stuff yourselves, my friends, because no one is going to do it for you. And at the end of the day, they'll utilize that lack of preparedness to enslave you to a T, to a point where you've lacked all humanity, you lack any independence, you are a slave in Logan's Run, eating the Soylent Green. And it's so sad because it doesn't have to be that way. There are bright, beautiful civil situations and solutions in the near future. But you have to do something about it now, so you're on the outside looking in, on the inside looking out, inescapable. I urge people to go and check out heavensharvest.com. I just want to bring solutions to people. Heavensharvest.com for long-term storable foods that are non-GMO. There's organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration and storage, books on how to get started. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and get 5% off as well as free shipping on these items, my friends. This is life-saving stuff. This is in the United States, especially. I'm trying to get it to other people, but there's regulations stopping me from getting this stuff to people in other countries. But my goodness, this is life-saving stuff. So please get prepared today on this. That's heavensharvest.com, code WAM, W-A-M. They now have self-heating meal kits, which all you have to do is add water. So that's like a huge development. You can also check out whambeef.com for 10 plus year shelf life freeze-dried steak. That's 12 servings per bag. It's amazing stuff. It's real steak, like ribeye, New York, sirloin, all sorts of stuff. It's not beef crumble. It's actual steak, which is hard to find this kind of stuff. It's really high quality. Use code WAMBEEF, W-A-M-B-E-E-F, all one word, and save 25% on these items. Much more than you see on the screen for savings. You will get an amazing deal that you can't find anywhere else with our link. So again, whambeef.com, code WAMBEEF. Guaranteed no mRNA jabs, no lab-grown meat, all American beef. That's 100% natural. So please take this seriously today. Get on it today and get organized, because this is how you save yourself versus the new world order that's being built around you. And also a great way to get off grid and be prepared. Check out our link for freedomkettle.com, Freedom Kelly Kettle, ultimate stainless steel base camp kit. You'll get a 1.6 liter steel-based camp kettle, cook set, hobo stove, cup set, plate set, pot sport, and carry bag. And if you use code WAM, W-A-M, you'll get free shipping on this item. And again, it's so obvious. Just have it for boiling water, cooking fast, survival. Off-grid is great for camping, but it's just good to have prepared for the inevitable. And of course, if you go to Patriot Prepared and use code WAM, W-A-M, at any of the things that they sell for prepping on that website, you will save money. So I urge people to go and check that out. Again, check out firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/ it has to be that exact link to buy physical gold and silver today. Again, you could hold it in your hands. You could put it in a vault. You could put it in an IRA and get off of the system that they're building around you. Again, there's a problem with the link right now, so I'll talk to Mark Gonzalez about that and let him know. But it's a great way to ensure that you are prepared. So make sure you work with Mark Gonzalez. Even if you call the official number, you have to get through to Mark Gonzalez. He's the one who's awake, who wants to make sure that you can save yourself from the inevitable. And again, if the link is back up and working, just let him know you found him at WAM, W-A-M, or World Alternative Media. So check that out. Again, the link seems to be down right now, but it does not change the fact that if you call them and ask and demand Mark Gonzalez, you will definitely be in a good situation there. Again, health is big because they are trying to kill us. So go and check out rncstore.com, Richardson Nutritional Center, your source for Laetrile Online, made famous by G. Edward Griffin's book, World Without Cancer. Get your apricot seeds, Laetrile, amygdalin, and vitamin B17 there. I have a bottle of Laetrile B17 right in front of me here. Use code JOSH, J-O-S-H, and save money on your order. Highly recommend this stuff. And before it ends up inevitably banned someday, this is great. It's a great line of defense. Stock up on it today and keep it for as long as you can. It has a long shelf life. Also check out, because they're trying to kill us with frequency and make us stupid and make us dependent and complacent. Check out our link for Wave Watch below, where it has 1,000 plus frequencies that help you in your day-to-day life, both body and mind, mental clarity, better sleep, weight management, immune system, soreness, all these different things, sleep. Go and check it out. Use code WAM, W-A-M, and you get $100 off your order. So I urge you to do it today. Again, it's like having a Rife machine on your wrist. It's super cool. I highly recommend people go and get that today at the Wave Watch link below. Finally, if you want to help support us at the same time as also support a really great event and meet us in person, I urge people to go and check out anarchapulco.com and get your tickets today using code WAM, W-A-M, to save money. That's Anarchapulco 2025 in February of 2025. It's going to be a great event. Charlie Robinson, Matt Egan, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Jeff Berwick, myself, and many others that are yet to be announced will be there. And I hope you go and check that out. You could just watch it virtually, or you could go in person in Acapulco, Mexico, whichever you want to do. But it's a great event, and I urge people to go to enteracapulco.com and use code Josh, or code WAM rather, WAM, and get your tickets today. If you want to help support us, we truly appreciate any help we can get. We're sabotaged, attacked regularly. Thank you to those who've helped us thus far. We couldn't survive without you. I mean, I truly mean it. So we have gogetfunding.com, Patreon, Subscribestar. We have a bunch of stuff there. If you pledge $4.99 a month or more on Patreon or Subscribestar, you will get exclusive content. You'll see some reports already there. We'll do more in the near future. And of course, we're sabotaged so much. We're hit with legal issues. We're not mainstream alternative media, so we're not doing the controlled opposition bullshit. We want you to be prepared and live by example. So please, if you can, you are the heartbeat of independent media. We could not survive without you. So thank you to those who've helped so far. We have a PayPal address, ancientwonderstelevision@gmail.com. And of course, we have a Bitcoin address and a Cointree link in the description. The Cointree link has a bunch of different cryptocurrencies that you could donate it if you please, including privacy coins. You can find our Teespring link in the description, where you can, actually get our merchandise and help support us through there. And of course, as always, just follow us on all the different platforms. We're on Telegram, Rockfin, banneddotvideo, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, and Brighteon at World Alternative Media. We're on Hive, Steemit, and Vigilante.tv at Josh Sigurdson. And we're on the Bad Guys TikTok and Instagram, World Alternative Media, Twitter and Getter at World Alt Media, and all the major podcast platforms except for Spotify, where, of course, we were banned. Hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell, and hit subscribe if you have not yet already. And as always, my friends, live freely, live by example. That's all we really care about. We want to make sure that you guys make the positives out of the negatives, and it comes down to you doing that. So understanding these negative things brings in the positive things as the real solutions, not these technocratic enslavement mechanisms that they call solutions. It's so important to know that. So until next time, as always, my friends, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.